Hi, and welcome to another Deckbox Top 10. I'm Aaron Hernandez. With me again this week are Anthony Gestes and Daniel Jackson. Welcome back, guys.
Hey, how's it going?
Happy to be here.
We can tell. I'm really excited this week. We're going to be talking about a little Magic history. My two favorite things are history and Magic, so we're combining them, and we're talking about the top 10 greatest 2-drops in all of Magic's history. It's a really exciting list. We got a couple of honorable mentions first. Anthony, why don't you start us off?
So we're doing the 2-drop creatures, and this list was very interesting. We had a lot of cards that didn't make the cut, a lot of cards that we wanted to make the cut, but I think we're going to lead off with some fun honorable mentions. We'll start off with Stormcrow for the memes. I mean, you can't get much more than a beautiful...
It's the best blue card. You can pitch it to Force of Will, it's great.
Yeah. The most important part of Stormcrow is clearly that you can pitch it to Force of Will.
Yeah, it's the most important part.
And gotta also throw out Crow Storm from Stable if you want to make a lot of 1/2 flyers.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Crow Storm's your card.
What was your honorable mention?
My honorable mention is one of the deck box's favorite cards is Squire. Just a plain old 1/2, but one of my favorites.
My honorable mention is Grizzly Bear. Grizzly Bear is the card by which we measure all other 2-drops with. It is the vanilla 2/2 for 2. Mm-hmm. Start there, you work your way up.
Still good and limited.
Yeah, still good and limited, and everything on this list meets the Grizzly Bear vanilla test. So,
all right, let's get started, guys. Anthony, number 10 is one of your pet cards, so I'll let you.
All right, so in mentioning all of these cards, I kind of wanted to try to go back a little further to older formats and maybe touch a little bit on Legacy and Vintage. So I kind of brought in Painter's Servant to the top 10 list because it spawned its own whole archetype with Grindstone in the Legacy format. And just going through all of these cards that we're about to mention, all of these are very iconic and powerful cards. So to spawn an entire archetype in one of the most vast formats, solid power.
As an EDH player, I really appreciate a card that got something banned. It's a very powerful format. To ban something in EDH, you either have to be a green card or be really busted. Just the fact that Painter's Servant and Grindstone are a colorless combo that you can throw in any deck has been very powerful for a really long time unless you do some very cool things. At number 9, we have Stoneforge Mystic. Part of the classic Clawblade deck, perpetually kind of on the verge of being unbanned in Modern.
So close.
Jeff Hoogland's really pushing for it.
Really close.
I really think it should be unbanned. I think that the arguments for keeping it banned are really thin at this point.
Yeah, I would agree.
And the power level of Modern's just gotten so high.
And I absolutely stand by a previous statement made in one of our other videos that we're going to see a Stoneforge unbanning this year.
I think in preparation for the next Modern Pro Tour, they'll give it back to us, I think. Number 8 is one of the most iconic cards in Magic from one of the most iconic tribes. We have Lord of Atlantis, representing the Merfolk tribe.
That was one of the first cards that I had 4 of. Way back in the day.
I was actually going to ask, did you play Fish back in the day?
I started playing Magic in 95, and Lord of Atlantis was the first card that I had a full play set of. It was kind of by chance because it was just from opening packs, but I don't have them anymore.
Yeah. Merfolk versus Goblins, one of the classic tribal matchups, one of the staples of Magic for a really long time. And actually, on that note, we have a Goblin at number 7.
Yeah, number 7, Goblin Electromancer. It was kind of a tie with Baral as well.
Now, what deck would you play those cards in?
Oh, well, I mean, any deck that's trying to take advantage of multiple instants and sorceries, maybe reducing those costs a little bit.
So I think like Death Shadow?
God, no, I don't think it would find a home in Death Shadow.
Anthony, what's your favorite Modern deck?
Oh, well, there's this one keyword. I don't know if you've heard of it, but it starts with an S, ends with a Torm.
With the Torm. That was so bad.
It was really bad. For those of you who are missing our terrible, beating around the bush. Banter. There we go.
Banter.
We're talking about the Storm deck.
Storm. Yeah. Storm.
Brawl, Brawl, and Electromancer are both just reducing the cost of spells, and Brawl I really think is the card that pushed the deck over the top.
Absolutely.
You had Electromancer. Storm was still a good deck in Modern. People like Caleb Shearer and, of course, Anthony here were still playing it. But when you printed Brawl and you had the redundancy of just always being able to play a spell-reducing creature onto, that really helped the deck out.
Speaking of Caleb Shearer, I'm gonna interject with a really quick, funny story. Yeah. So I managed to wrangle Caleb into dinner with us one night when Anthony was there, and I had Anthony sit next to Caleb, and he was... just like a nervous little.
It was
engage. You were hilarious. Stormstruck.
I was certainly stormstruck. That's for sure. I look up to Caleb as far as any information when it comes to Storm, and I do get a little starstruck, a little embarrassed about it. It was a good experience. Caleb's a great guy, and Storm's a great guy.
Storm is a great deck. Caleb Shearer is a great guy, and number 6 is a great card. It is
Arcbound Ravager. Arcbound Ravager is a mainstay in Affinity or Robots, depending on your
DM, and as well as still being, it's still to this day is played in Vintage. Ravager Shops is one of the best Vintage decks.
Showed up in Hardened Scales for a while as well. It's it's all around good. 2-drop colorless. Does a lot of work in those decks.
And I think one of the biggest things about Arcbound Ravager is the number of formats that it has been dominant in. It completely dominated Standard. It dominated Extended for a little while. It was an Extended.
Yeah, there was definitely a Robots archetype for Extended.
And then Affinity or Robots in Modern has on and off been one of the top 2 or 3 decks for years. So really, just the longevity of Arcbound Ravager, I really think moves him up the list. At number 5, we have a personal favorite card of mine. I named my daughter after Thalia, Guardian of Thraben. It's a card I really love. It's disruptive. It's a clock. It just does just enough to kind of give white taxing decks a home where they really wouldn't before. If it wasn't for Thalia, you would not have taxes in, frankly, any format, I don't think.
Yeah, well, and she branches out into other decks. Obviously, Humans was playing a lot of taxes, or a lot of Thalia, because she's a human, and she helped curb some of the removal spells that were available and slow combo decks down a little bit, so...
Yeah, great card.
Yeah.
I think a lot of Thalia's impact is that you don't quite understand how powerful it is on a game because all of the impact is based upon what's in your opponent's hand.
It's cards that are not cast rather than...
Hey, it's also got First Strike.
Which is very relevant.
It's relevant.
First Strike is actually... through other bears is a really big deal.
Bears.
Number 4.
Yep, at number 4.
Dark Confidant.
Yeah, we're starting to get to the real power, some of the classics.
Jund Staple Dark Confidant.
The first invitational card on the list.
It's been considered one of the best Magic cards for years. Certainly one of the best creatures.
It's been seeing less play lately.
Yeah, definitely. I think that it probably saw its biggest dip in play right after the printing of Fatal Push.
Yeah.
And it has sort of come back a little bit since then. It is a little thinner. There is fewer Bobs than there used to be, certainly.
Yeah.
But he's a card that's gone in all kinds of decks. Everything from Jund, which is probably its proper home.
Yeah.
There was... a deck playing 4 Emrakuls with 4 Bobs in some of the first Modern tournaments, which I thought was funny. You're taking your life into your own hands.
People played Emrakul and Bob in the same deck, but I wasn't allowed to put Bob in my Death Shadow deck because I was playing Tasigur.
I mean, you were allowed.
Well, you're allowed, sure, but I have felt the sting of flipping a Tombstalker off of a Dark Confidant in a Legacy event. My only competitive Legacy event, mind you. But
you're playing Dark Confidant.
I wanted to protect you from feeling that pain.
Okay, all right. That's fair. I appreciate it.
So at number 3, we have Young Pyromancer.
Young Peasy
herself.
Yup.
Making 1/1 tokens. Basically, the older the format gets, the better Young Pyromancer gets.
Absolutely. It's found a wonderful home in Legacy and some Delver Shells. Those decks are often trying to cast as many spells as possible.
One of the bluest red cards ever printed.
Absolutely.
I would agree. It's played in Modern quite a bit. Mardu Pyromancer has kind of seen a little bit of a drop-off lately, but Pyromancer is still... I mean, the power of a 1/1 token, it can get you pretty far.
And 5 1/1 tokens goes much further.
Yes, 5 1/1 tokens
Absolutely.
will pay really quick.
So moving on to our final two, which we almost had consensus on. Anthony had one of them at number 3. But at number 2, we have Tarmogoyf.
Did you put Goyf at number 3?
He had Goyf at number 3.
I had Goyf at
I
number 3.
don't know if I can continue making videos with you.
All right,
Put Goyf at number 3.
Besides Jund,
Abzan.
what
Well, so let's be
besides green black mid range variants?
Let's be clear.
Okay.
Right now, Tarmogoyf is only seeing play in green black, but this is a list about Magic's history. Rug Delver, Splinter Twin, which is a deck that I know you care to.
Yes.
And the Rug version was really good.
It was.
If you stick a Tarmogoyf on 2 and then you just hold up the Splinter Twin combo, they're not going to be able to play around getting beaten to death by your 4/5.
Tarmogoyf is one of the most iconic cards in Magic. That's my argument.
All right. So
when they have a die just for Tarmogoyf.
When you hear my number 2, what I chose as number 2, it'll explain it all.
It was Goblin Electro.
It was Goblin Electro.
Well, that's because you're a bad storm. A storm player.
He's a little biased.
He's probably not wrong about that bad part.
We all
had absolutely. We universally agreed that number 1 had to be Snapcaster Mage.
When you first proposed the list, the very first card that popped into my head was Snapcaster, which is why I put it at number 1 because. And it's interesting because I don't know how much play it's seen lately across most of the formats that it was dominating in, but it's still a deck, or it's still a card when you build a deck that can play it. You go, can I put Snapcaster in this deck? Will it make the deck better? Yes, it will. All right.
Yeah.
2 copies of Snapcaster it is.
I think that the reason that it's kind of seeing less play in Modern is just the speed of the format right now. And I think because of that, we are seeing a lot more like 2 of Snapcaster Mages.
Yes,
Whereas
absolutely.
when Bolt Snap Bolt decks were a big thing with like Jeskai Tempo and the Splinter Twin, of course.
I mean, Death Shadow, my personal pet deck, definitely wants to play Snapcaster.
Absolutely. That deck loves Snapcaster Mage.
It is also another card that continues to get more powerful as you go back in time. Playable in Vintage, sees a ton of play in Legacy.
I haven't felt the dream of flashing back an Ancestral Recall yet, but...
Done it in Cube.
Oh,
Done
boy.
it in Cube. It feels good. Honestly, the Time Walk felt a little better.
I can see that. I'm just a sucker for drawing cards, though.
Yeah, whereas I personally prefer taking turns because you get to draw a card and play a land.
I just like bolting people twice. I'm simple. I'm simple and easy.
Daniel likes bolting people so much that he has on occasion bolted himself.
Oh, I've actually snap bolted myself to win a game of Magic before. I've snap bolted myself to win a game of Magic before.
And
doesn't matter what your life total is.
And that I think really sums up kind of why Snapcaster Mage is so good. It's because it's flexible.
It's a flexible card that becomes a copy of another card in your deck, right? You can't. I can only play 4 copies of Lightning Bolt, but with Snapcaster Mage now I can have 6, 7, 8 copies of Lightning Bolt.
We missed the chance to have Ambush Viper as one of our meme 2-drops, which Snapcaster does a really good impression of.
It does do a really
yeah, that's true.
The
doesn't block Thalia though.
No,
it does not very well. I mean, it does block, but not very effectively.
First strike's actually pretty good.
All right, is there anything else we wanted to talk about on this list?
I think we've got everything covered. It's a really fun list. If there are any cards that you think we forgot that need to get included, please let us know in the comments. Once again, I'm Aaron Hernandez, this is Anthony Gestes and Daniel Jackson, and this has been a Deckbox Top 10 list.